Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be doing 5 bold hot takes for the upcoming 2021 NFL season. Kind of the same video that I did this sort of time last year. So before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoy the video and let's dive right into it. So let's start off with my number one bold prediction that Justin Fields wins NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Wow, massive. You're looking at the quarterbacks in this draft class. You're looking at Trevor Lawrence. You're looking at Trey Lance. You're looking at Zach Wilson. You're looking at Mac Jones. But I think Justin Fields arguably might be one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks in this draft class. Number one, he's got the legs, and number two, he's got the arm, and he's got some weapons in Chicago. He's got a good defense-ish. He's got a solid defense on that side of the football, but more importantly, offensive side of the football. Dave Montgomery is a legit weapon. We saw what Mooney was able to do last year. Allen Robinson, really good wide receiver. They drafted Cole Kmet last season. So they've got some weapons there, but more importantly, Justin Fields is a guy who I think can take a team on his back and really have some success, right? We saw what he was able to do with his legs at Ohio State, and we saw what he was able to do with his arm. And I think Chicago might be the situation where he can really thrive in. Andy Dalton, let's be real, is not getting more than 2-3 weeks as a starter, and maybe he doesn't even win the starting job outright at the beginning of the year. I think Justin Fields will see time in this season. It's just how many games does he play? Does he play all 16? I mean, all 17, excuse me. Does he play 15? Does he play 16? How many games does he play? If he plays more than 14 or more games and is absolutely stellar in those games, I think that he has a chance at Offensive Rookie of the Year. And to be honest, I just think that Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he's going to find success. Is he going to be a Rookie of the Year player? I mean, probably. He's probably the favorite going into it. I think he's probably the biggest rival for Justin Fields, but to be honest, I think Justin Fields might have had a better collegiate career than Zach Wilson. There's a complete argument for there, and I think that's actually the argument that you should be making. Zach Wilson was really good last year, but at the end of the day, is he really that solid? We only saw him for one really good season, at BYU against some weaker competition, to be honest. So overall, that concerns me for Zach Wilson. Trey Lance probably won't see the field too much this season, and Mac Jones, although I think will be a solid starter in New England, doesn't have that elite upside. He's a good quarterback, and I think that he can be a system quarterback for that team out there in Foxborough. But at the end of the day, Fields is a guy that can score from anywhere on the field. He can make all the plays that he needs to make. So I just think that Justin Fields and his assets with his legs and his arms really is kind of where today's game's at. And I think that he could have some success for that Chicago Bears team out there. I think that he could be a dark horse NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year caliber player. So watch out for him. Next up, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers and their offense, and I think that they could potentially have a top 5 offense next season. And let's look at this offense for a second. Christian McCaffrey, they've got Robbie Anderson, they've got DJ Moore, they've got Terrence Marshall Jr. in the draft in the second round. I love the weapons on this offense. Absolutely love them. You love Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, what he's able to do as a dual threat running back is unprecedented. It's unlike anyone else in the NFL. Obviously, on the outside, DJ Moore is an 1,000-yard receiver. Robbie Anderson is an 1,000-yard receiver, and Terrence Marshall Jr. Is a player who is, he could easily have 750, 800 yards and 5 to 6 touchdowns. He's obviously worked with Joe Brady before in that offense. Where Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow at LSU with Terrence Marshall Jr. there. So I like the group of receivers they have on this offense. They've got really solid wide receivers, and they've got a really good run game with Christian McCaffrey and a good pass catcher in Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. The offensive line isn't great, but it's not bad. I really like Taylor Moton on that offensive line, but the real question comes down to Sam Darnold. Can Darnold be better than Teddy Bridgewater? I think he can be, just because of the weapons. We know Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson already work. Robbie Anderson was his favorite target in New York, and he was really successful there. And now that there's an actual run game, now there's an actual number 2 option, now that there's an actual number 3 option, and a semi-solid offensive line in Carolina. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's not really bad. I think that offense has the weapons to be a top 5 offense, and if Sam Darnold can find some success, like he did a few seasons ago, where he played for the Jets before he got mono, then this Panthers team definitely has the potential to be a top 5 offense. Will it end up being a top 5 offense? Maybe not, but I think that there is the potential. So I'm going to add that to my bold predictions. Next up, though, let's look at the Here we go. Let's wait this for load. Dak Prescott will win NFL MVP. This is a massive prediction here. But nonetheless, I like always doing a Cowboys prediction once a year. You got to do the Cowboys prediction because there's a ton of Cowboys haters. Last year I said that they make the NFC Championship game. Obviously, that did not happen because Dak got injured. But if we look at what Dak was able to do in those first few games where he was healthy, this guy was lighting the league on storm. I think he had 1,800 passing yards through 4 games, had, 9 touchdowns. He was ridiculous. And imagine a full season with Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb, with Michael Gallup, with those guys that they have there, Blake Jarwin back from injury. The offensive line will be healthy again. And although that offensive line wasn't great, it'll be healthier, and that'll be big for that Dallas Cowboys team. More importantly, Ezekiel Elliott. When Dak Prescott was in for that offense was putting up 45 points a game. I mean, it simply was. They were putting up 40, 45 points a game. And I think if Dak Prescott is able to play like Dak Prescott did in the first 4 games of last season, sure, that's not really an attainable thing for an entire season. But this guy could easily put up 43 touchdowns, 7 to 10 interceptions, and throw for 5,000 yards. I truly believe that. I really do believe that. And I think Dak Prescott is a guy, especially after getting that big deal, that he's a player that can really spark an offense, and we saw what he's able to do in those first 4 weeks. So I really think that there is an opportunity for Dak Prescott. If he's able to find that success that we saw at the beginning of last year, there's a spot for him to be a true playmaker for that Cowboys team, and a guy who can really be an MVP player. And I think that absolutely there's a shot. It's just, can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the football field? And can he work the magic again with Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb, with Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Gallup, all those guys? Can he reestablish that? Now though, let's go to my number 2 bold prediction for next year, which is the Cleveland Browns, and why I think that they can make the AFC Championship game. Obviously, last year that they weren't able to quite beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that was a heartbreaker, and the Chiefs ended up going on to the Super Bowl, and they weren't quite able to win the Super Bowl. But I think that the Browns can be back in the AFC Championship next season. And the reason for that is I don't quite think that they're good enough to beat the Chiefs quite yet. I think that they added a lot, but I think the Chiefs, their offense is ridiculous. But at the end of the day, I think the Browns have a shot to be back in under those big lights, and playing in the AFC Championship game. And the reason for that is this offense is going to be so good next year. It really is. This is going to be a top 5 offense in the NFL. Running the football, they've got Nick Chubb, they've got Kareem Hunt. They can really pound the rock. They've also got Baker Mayfield, and if Baker Mayfield played like Baker Mayfield played last year, this is going to be a successful passing game with Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashard Higgins, Austin Hooper. Those are all guys that can catch a lot of footballs and be really productive. And also, you don't forget Harrison Bryant, who was really productive as a rookie last year for this Browns offense. And then you got to talk about the offensive line. Jack Conklin, Wyatt Teller, J.C. Treader, Joel Bitonio, Jedrick Wills Jr. make up the best offensive line in all of football, which really helps the pass game, really helps the run game. This offense is going to be top 5 in the NFL next year, hands down. Don't even talk to me about it. I'll make a video about that later in the offseason. But I truly believe this offense will be fantastic. And defensively, this defense is going to be fantastic too. You've got Myles Garrett, you've got Jadeveon Clowney as your pass rushers, who are 2 really athletic guys who can get to the quarterback. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the second round was an absolute steal. And although the linebackers are a little bit questionable, Sione Takitaki I don't really love, but they really improved the secondary. That was the main concern. They really got beaten up by that Chiefs team. But Troy Hill, John Johnson, Denzel Ward, all of these guys are real impact players, and Grant Delpit will be playing there too. Also, obviously, he was injured last year. Greg Newsome, they picked him up in the first round. All of these moves were to improve the secondary because they really got burned by that Chiefs team, and I think that they have that ability to beat the Chiefs team. Are they making it to the Super Bowl? I don't know. I think that could be a bolder take than the one I'm taking, but I truly would put money on them potentially making the AFC Championship game because I really see them as a strong 2-3 seed in the AFC. I don't really think that. I mean, I think that they're better than the Bills, and I think some people, especially Buffalo fans, would be like, "That's crazy." But this Browns team is arguably the most complete roster in all of football. It simply is, from the front end on the defense to the back end on the defense, from the front end on the offense to the back end on the offense. I mean, this is a complete team running the game, running game wise, passing game wise, quarterback play wise, O line, D line. Linebackers, I think that's probably the place where they want to improve the most, but they improved the secondary, and this is a team that's going to be scary next season. Now, though, let's go to my final prediction. Bold prediction is going to be it's going to be about the Los Angeles Rams, and obviously they brought in Matthew Stafford, so that's the big thing. But to be honest, I don't think this team got much better. I don't think it got better. And to be honest, I'm really going to be rooting for this team. I love the Rams. But I think that they're going to be bounced in the first round. I think that they're going to be bounced in the first round of the playoffs, in the wild card round. I don't think that they're going to win their division. I think Arizona will either win their division or the Seattle Seahawks will win their division. Do I want the Rams to win that division? Absolutely. I like the Rams. I consider myself not a Rams fan, but a person who definitely has some affiliation towards rooting for the Rams. But there's all this hype about Stafford being able to lead this team to a Super Bowl, leading them to an NFC Championship game. I don't think that's the case. I think this team gets bounced in the first round. Do I really think Matthew Stafford's a ton better than Jared Goff? No, I really don't. And I've talked about this all offseason. I think Stafford's really good. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, top 12 quarterback in the NFL. But Jared Goff, when he's throwing the football well, can beat Matthew Stafford. He can. He really can. And I know Rams fans are going to be like, no way, you're being crazy. Goff was the reason we were bad. I understand that, but I really think that Stafford, at his age, and sure, like at the end of the day, like, if you love Stafford, then you love Stafford, and if you really think he adds to your offense, then he adds to your offense. But at the end of the day, I just see him as a slightly better Jared Goff, and I see him as a slightly more consistent Jared Goff. And sure, that's really important, but I still don't like that trade. I think Cam Akers was really good last season in the running game when he was healthy, when he was able to play. Especially in the playoffs against Seattle, he was absolutely fantastic. Darrell Henderson was good when he was healthy. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp are always going to be good, always 1,000-yard receivers, and I think that getting Deshaun Jackson, having Van Jefferson, and drafting Tutu Atwell in the second round as their first choice those were all good moves. I think Tutu Atwell, Deshaun Jackson this offseason, Van Jefferson last offseason, adding some depth at wide receiver. Higbee, solid tight end, wasn't too great last year. The O-line will be solid next year. I mean, Andrew Whitworth, David Edwards, Brian Allen, Austin Corbett, Rob Havenstein. It really starts from the tackles and moves towards the inside. Corbett's pretty good at right guard. I don't love David Edwards at left guard or Brian Allen. Those are two below average players. But Whitworth, although he's up there in age, still a good left tackle. Havenstein had a real bounce back year last year. And then defensively, I mean, sure, they've got Aaron Donald. Sure, they've got Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey, Jordan Fuller, Darius Williams, and Taylor Rapp. But at the end of the day, I still think losing Michael Brockers was tough. And I know Brockers, wouldn't restructure his contract to stay with the team. But at the end of the day, I just think that this defense, they got very lucky because Aaron Donald had an insanely year last year. And you can't count on Aaron Donald like that. You can't count on Leonard Floyd getting 11.5 sacks again. I just don't think those numbers will happen again. And I think that we'll see some of those numbers, especially because they lost, they lost their standout safety in John Johnson. They lost some other help to the Cleveland Browns in the cornerback market in Troy Hill. So I don't think this defense will be as good next year, and I think this offense will probably be slightly better than it was under Jared Goff, but I don't think this offense will be good enough to, beat the Seahawks. I don't think it'll be good enough to beat the Cardinals. I don't think it'll be good enough to beat some of the other really good teams in the NFC. So I don't think this team is making it to a Super Bowl. I don't think they're making it to an NFC Championship game. I truly believe they're getting bounced in the first round. So tough for the Rams here for my bold predictions, but those are going to be my top 5 bold predictions for this upcoming 2021 NFL offseason. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.